It's baseball season and young arms are kicking the door down in Houston. Coaches are taking notice, and the Astros nearly pulled the trigger on a three-team shakeup. Now it's all eyes on 2026, where development, edge, and execution will define this run.
Jainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chansey.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Locked On Astros. It is officially baseball season. We are here. And look, I am so excited. You know me. I am one half of Locked On Astros, Eric the Man Heisman, and myself. We have 18 years podcasting experience between us. I also write for the Crawfish Boxes. Eric has done various writing gigs, and we absolutely love this team. We love covering it, and we love being a part of the Locked On Astros family. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. This episode today is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Go to FanDuel today and check out all the cool things. And I'll talk to you mid-show how you can get involved with the fun with the Olympics. So thank y'all for tuning in. So today's show, I want to talk about a couple things. Yeah, we're going to hit on how baseball season is here. We'll talk about how far we are out from baseball and baseball activities. We're going to talk about the three arms I think that we should watch out for that are coming out of that will be coming out of spring training. And I'm not saying these three arms are going to all end up on the roster, but they're guys that you need to think about now and think about projecting maybe later on. I think at least two of these three, I know one for sure, two of them could see major league innings. And then what's this talk about? Chandler Rome mentioned the Astros, the Red Sox, and the Cardinals nearly engaged in a three-team trade. And Brendan Donovan, we know Brendan Donovan went to the Seattle Mariners. That made them stronger. But apparently there's still five teams that are talking to the Astros about Isaac Paredes. There is still some interest, minimal that it may be, with Christian Walker. Look, the Astros have convinced us, or trying to convince us, that they can go into the season with an infield surplus and juggle all the players and give everybody playing time and keep everybody happy. I do not know that that is possible, but we will try to tackle that as we go throughout spring training until a trade is made. But let's get into it, because there are three arms. And if you saw the graphic that I posted, the title graphic for the show, the template as we call it, the three guys that I chose, and I went to Astros Future. Jimmy does a great job. I went to Crawfish Boxes. I went to Baseball USA. I went to several places, and I was like, okay, what is the consensus of the pitchers that will have the most impact? And I took what people thought, and I put my own thoughts in there. And so these are my three: Ethan Pecko, Alonzo Tredwell, and AJ Blubaugh. Now, not necessarily in that order, because one of these three obviously is going to get big league innings, and that's AJ Blubaugh. So let's not act like that's a mystery. Ethan Pecko, I think, is the guy that would be next up after AJ Blubaugh, but Alonzo Tredwell could make some noise midseason. We'll get into that in a little bit. I'm going to talk about Ethan Pecko first, and then I'm going to talk about Alonzo Tredwell. Then I'm going to talk about AJ Blubaugh, and I'm going to share with y'all my interview with AJ Blubaugh. I think you'll like it. Myself, Brian McTaggart, MLB beat writer for the Houston Astros, and then Lorenzo Delgado of Full Seam Territory, and all the writing adventures that he is part of, Arasquina, which is a great Hispanic publication here in Houston. So Ethan Pecko, I think, has the highest overall projection. I think he has the highest ceiling. I think he's the most complete profile, starter profile. Okay. He checks just about every box. He's a strike thrower. He has a 5-pitch mix. His extension and the deception of the ball leaving his hand. If he doesn't have a forearm strain last year, he's already knocking on the door. He may already be here. He did end up in Sugarland. He doesn't have plus pitch stuff, but he has 5 solid average offerings, which I think plays in today's game. Okay. I think Ethan Pecko in 2026 profiles as a mid-rotation starter. Now, does he become a 3rd or 4th guy in the rotation this year? No. Would he have to come in mid-season, maybe coming in for somebody that maybe goes down? Probably so. But I think you project him out to 2027, not knowing who's going to all be here. While he may not be a frontline ace, I think you can look at when Ethan Pecko finally develops, you're looking at 140 to 160 innings guy who stays healthy. He is, I think he has winning big league pitcher written all over him, and that has real value. So Ethan Pecko, we actually interviewed him, and I don't know if y'all remember that a couple seasons ago. We interviewed him, and the same day we interviewed him, he had a game, and he actually went 7 innings, I believe, struck out 6. So that was really cool, and we hope he remembers that. We get him on the show sometime soon and remind him about the good luck charm that the Houston Astros are. Before I talk about Alonzo Tredwell, you see, if you're watching, if you're listening, we have 2 days until pitchers and catchers report, 1 day if you're listening on a Monday, 12 days until spring training game starts, 24 days until World Baseball Classic, and 44 days until opening day. I love that. 44. That sounds like a really cool number. Tipping on 4-4s, Yordan Alvarez. Really, really cool. Thank you for the compliment on the hat. This actually is a hat designed by my friend Joe Muscat. Goes by Explicit Ink on Instagram. And you can get this hat at Big City Cap Zone. I don't know if they have them anymore. I think they might have sold out, but check those guys out. They're phenomenal. Our second guy we want to talk about and hit on is Alonzo Tredwell. He, to me, has the highest upside arm on the list. Health is the entire conversation for him. He's 6'8", and his brutal angle gives him one of the nastiest curveball shapes in the system. He had a legit AA breakout to close out the year last year. His slider is already above average. He doesn't have, despite not having a platoon split and no real change, I still think this guy can be a back-end starter. But when he gets to the major leagues, you're looking at a guy that can go 120 to 150 innings. Okay. If he stays healthy and, we're doing Olympic level lifting here. When he's right, this is the real rotation piece. He's not a gimmick arm. Okay. And so when you look at Alonzo Tredwell and what he offers, his ceiling, I think, is high. Now, how high or how low is his floor? I think it all depends on health. A guy that's 6'8", has a brutal angle, has a brutal change, has a brutal break on his curve. That's great, but his arm's got to stay healthy. He throws hard. He can throw gas. So I think Alonzo Tredwell is a guy to look for. Now, I'm going to talk about these 3, and then I'm going to mention some others. I'm not just mentioning these 3, but these are the 3 I'm focusing on. Yeah, someone says the sticker is still on your hat. Actually, I put it on the underside of my brim for a reason. I've done that with a few of my hats. I haven't done that with all of them. I don't know. It's a personal thing. Sometimes I do it. Sometimes I don't. But yeah, the sticker's there. The sticker was on the top. I moved it to the bottom. For those of y'all listening, you're like, what are you talking about? So they're commenting on my hat right now. And I have the size sticker on the brim underside of my hat. So that's what they're commenting on. Now, the third guy that I want to talk about is AJ Blubaugh, because obviously he is going to be your MLB contributor who's going to get the most run this year. And I'm excited here in a couple minutes. I'm going to share with you after we come back from our break, the 3.5-minute interview I got with him. And again, myself, McTaggart, and Lorenzo all got to talk to him at the TriStar show. Before we get to our break, we know he's already showed that he's got big league stuff. He plays in relief really well, and I think the Astros know it. The walks, I think, create him being more of on an innings limit, which puts him in a bullpen, which solves a bullpen issue. A 4-inning bridge appearance is gold for him, especially in this modern age of pitching. A multi-inning bullpen weapon, 60 to 80 major league innings with leverage flexibility, I think is a phenomenal option here for AJ Blubaugh. And when we come back, I'll talk a little bit more about him, and then we will see what he had to say when we spoke to him at TriStar. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking into the events that you only get to really see on the big stage every 4 years. So that's why following the Winter Games with FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle in the sports you care about most, like the drama of curling matches that start slow and get intense fast, speed skating races decided by inches, hockey games that feel different and change the face of a nation. Even niche events become must-watch when you're fully locked into competition. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, plan your game. That's right. FanDuel is where it is at. And yes, I had put 44 days on there. I'll repost this. The 44 days would be if you were listening on Monday or watching on Monday. So I guess depending on what day you watch this, I mean, if you watch this show 5 days from now, it will be 39 days, right? Or 40 days. But we can all get in on the numbers. Now, sit back and enjoy this 3.5 minute interview with AJ Blubaugh.
Spring training's around the corner. What have been your preparations as you get ready for camp?
I mean, it's really the same thing every off season. Just, for me, it's always, put on the weight that I lost throughout the season, get stronger, get faster, get smarter. And, this off season, I've really put a lot of time into my body and my mind, and I'm ready to go for this spring training.
This will be a lot different spring for you. I mean, you're coming with a real shot here to make an impact on this team. What do you think of the opportunity, and what do you kind of expect when you hit camp?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what it is. It's an opportunity. I look at it as, I proved what I can do last year. I understand what the goal is, and I'm excited to make an impact with the Astros this year.
So you have the prospects of a new pitching coach. You've got a guy coming over from overseas for the first time with a Japanese pitcher who is having his first exposure. What are some things that you're looking forward to in spring training, maybe some challenges that you may be facing just getting to know new people?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with every person you meet, you can learn something new. So I'm really curious to pick some brains and hopefully widen my arsenal.
Do you have any starter, reliever? I mean, it seems to be kind of up in there what your role will be. They've added a lot of depth, so it seems like there could be a lot of moving pieces on the pitching side.
Yeah, I mean, I love starting. I love the routine aspect of it. I love knowing when I'm going to pitch. But at the same time, at the end of the year last year, I love the spontaneity of it. I love when am I going to pitch, who am I going to face, and what situations is it going to be. Really, I just want the ball in my hands. And if I can do that in the big league level, that's what I'm going to do.
What do you take away, from your first season, being a rookie for the first time, and, seeing some MLB players? I mean, what do you take away from that coming into spring training?
I mean, I got my first taste last year. I fell in love with it even more than I already did. I played baseball since I was 4 or 5 years old, and that was for what I did last year. So I want to do that as long as I possibly can at that level and have fun doing it.
The second half of the season, you found a lot of success from your first outing in the first half. What were some things that you think that helped you be able to pitch really well in that second half?
I started playing for something bigger than myself. I caught myself playing for trying to be a big leaguer, and just for the wrong reasons. And then I talked to God, and He really took me on a journey mentally and physically throughout that stretch that I had in May and June. And then once I started playing for something bigger and playing for Him and through Him, everything changed, and I really enjoyed the second half of the year and what it could do, what it could show me. I would say just fine-tuning everything. I was happy with how myself was doing at the end of the year last year. I would say the biggest thing is just raising the floor. I feel like I had too many outings last year where I either had velo down or shapes weren't where they needed to be, or location issue. So really just raising the floor. So I'm not really shooting for the stars. I'm more of trying to move closer to the moon, if that makes sense.
Which weights is great besides?
Right now I'm at just right between 10 and 15 pounds from where I ended the year last year. So I'm pretty much right around where I started the year last year, but I'm looking to push a little bit more in throughout spring training and try to start just a little heavier than I did last year.
Yeah, so there you go, AJ Blubaugh with a word about his mindset. Love this kid's energy. Look, I got to talk to several players, and you'll see the interviews tomorrow. I don't need to go over that. I put their names in the chat, but here are, I think, the most likely MLB innings getters from these guys in 2026. I think AJ Blubaugh, number one, is your guy that will get more run than anybody. I think Ethan Pecko could come in. Unfortunately, I think he might have to come in as a starter mid-season if there are injury issues. We don't want that. Maybe he's a late season call-up. Also, Alonzo Tredwell, if he can stay healthy. Bryce Meyer could be a guy, could be a swing starter, a depth call-up. He dominates righties, and his changeup needs to stick. Miguel Uola, I think, is likely up for a bullpen conversion. I know they want him to be a starter, but his walks are just way too many at this point. But I think he could be a guy that could come up. And Jackson Nazuth, who I really like, I think could be a depth piece as a starter and get some spot innings. So really in a big picture, when we forecast it out, the real rotation piece I see out of all these is Ethan Pecko. One high variance upside arm, I think, is Treadwell, and two big time bullpen contributors. I think key parts of a bullpen could be Blubaugh and Uola. So this isn't a top heavy prospect group, but it's depth that actually fits how the Astros deploy the pitchers now. So I absolutely love the way that these guys end up lining themselves out going forward. Look, with these young arms, with these young pitchers, what they're going to be looking at is not necessarily, when I say results, the results they're looking for are not going to be ERAs, or if they give up tanks, they're going to look at their pitch shapes. They're going to look at what they do from inning to inning when they build them up, because they're all going to be built up. When they build them up from a 1 inning outing to a 2 inning outing to a 3, whatever they get, how do they recover? If they go out multiple innings, once they get off the mound and go into the dugout and go back out, how do they respond? When they're out there on the mound and when they give up hits, when they get in tough situations, how do they react? And then the next day, how do their bodies respond? Last year you had Ethan Pecko with the forearm strain, so he's probably going to be slow played a little bit. I do expect Pecko to get AAA reps more and more. He ended up with the Sugarland Space Cowboys, and he may be the first guy out of this group to be called up, I think, even over Miguel Uola. Now, if Miguel Uola goes into spring training and he is laser focused and he has fixed that walk thing, if he can command that strike zone, he may be the guy that moves up. So I really like where they are right now with their young pitching. Now, I want to get into a little bit of this. It's not necessarily a rumor. It's a confirmed, like, this was going to happen, but it didn't. Chandler Rome in The Athletic talked about a 3-team trade that nearly went down between the Astros, the Cardinals, and the Red Sox. And I kind of want to talk about that because I think that may be more of the framework of what is going to have to happen if the Pirates are involved, if the Red Sox are still involved. Look, the Red Sox are still interested. But I'm going to get to that on the other side of our break. I'm going to get to what the Red Sox are willing to give up or what they're not willing to give up. And as well, we're going to talk about this 3-team trade that never happened. Hiring isn't just about finding someone who will take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed Sponsored Jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles upon your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria like skills, certifications, and location. If I were hiring, I wouldn't want to just give someone the job who can help. I want someone with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and target exactly what you need. It saves time because you are spending less energy sorting through mismatches. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a fit. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Hey, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I want to make sure y'all know about the Everydayer Club. Thank you for making Locked On Astros your first listen, and thank you for making the Locked On the #1 sports network in America. If you haven't already heard, you need to check out the Everydayer Club. Access to ad-free audio feeds from the Locked On Astros team, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners for this show. Host Eric and I will be hanging out there. And if you just simply go to lockedonastros.supercast.com or you tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Thank y'all for joining the Everydayer Club. So look, okay, someone asked, what does your shirt say? So I wore this shirt for the Super Bowl. It says, I hope both teams lose, because my team's not in it. So this is by my guy Mark over at Rams Shirts, and it's a great shirt. I actually wore it to Walmart today. We were getting some last minute groceries for the week, things that we had forgotten on our list. And I got like 5 compliments. People like, oh, I love your shirt. And I forgot what shirt I was wearing. It's like, oh, thank you. So yeah, I have a shirt that says, I hope both teams lose. But yeah, I absolutely love this shirt. So let's talk about this. Obviously the Astros missed out on Brendan Donovan. And what was funny was there were a lot of people that whenever we missed out on Brendan Donovan that said, oh, he's mid. He's not that good. He's not even a good player. No, Brendan Donovan's a very good major league player. He's got a 280 average in his career, has the ability to hit for power. He's a left-handed bat. He would have fit in this lineup. Why? Because he's a left-handed bat, and we just don't have those. We don't have many. Someone's asking me in the chat, do I think the Astros should trade for Springer? Absolutely not. No, Springer's too long in the tooth. He belongs north of the border. He earned his time here. And the Astros, they continue to retire numbers. They're probably going to retire number 4. They're probably going to retire number 2, Alex Bregman. The Astros keep retiring the numbers at the rates that they're retiring them. I was talking to Lorenzo from Full Seam Ahead podcast, and he had this thought. He said, if they keep retiring numbers, and I agree with them, he said, they're going to run out of numbers. I said, I know they have to look like hockey jerseys out there, 99 and 84. But so Chandler Rome came out with this actually on the 8th of February. So if you're listening after the 8th of February, so get this. right here, in another sign that the Astros are trying to lessen their infield surplus, the team had serious discussions about a three-way team trade, which they would have sent Isaac Paredes to Boston and acquired utility man Brendan Donovan. The Cardinals were involved. Okay, now we know that the Mariners scooped him up, and that's not good for the Astros. But Boston remains one of 5 teams with interest on Paredes. Now, I have heard that the Red Sox are still talking to the Astros, but the Astros are like, we don't want Duran. We want Wilyer Abreu. The guy that you sent to us in the Christian Vasquez trade. We want that guy, the Gold Glove guy, the guy in right field who's really good. And the Red Sox are like, I don't know about that. And the Astros are like, well, Duran costs more and has less control. So they want someone with more control. They want Wilyer Abreu back. But it does seem like the the Red Sox are not coming off of that, okay? They aren't coming off of Abreu and Casas in the same trade if they won't come off Abreu. Now, an interesting name, and the Astros have – so look at teams in who they trade with. They will oftentimes make multiple trades with teams because why? You build relationships. If you have a business, it's about relationships. Like, you can't start a business in your town and just go around and walk in and expect people just to buy your products. But if they've known you for the last 10 years and all of a sudden you start in pool installation business, who are they going to call, or who are you going to go to? You're going to go to your warm market, your friends. Well, the Astros have a warm market with the Pirates. They've made some trades with the Pirates, and on more than one occasion. And the Pirates are trying to win now. The Pirates need a third baseman. Now, I'm not saying this because I want Isaac Paredes traded, but I'm saying this because I think the reality is you've got everyday major league players with a surplus infield of 5 guys, and there's only 4 spots. It just doesn't make sense mathematically. And I've seen people put up, well, if you play Paredes, 40 games at third and 120 games at second. And then I'm like, but where are you going to put Altuve? Well, but if you sprinkle 15 games at first, okay, where are you going to put Walker? Well, you're going to DH him. Well, what if Altuve's in left? Then where's Jordan? So it just becomes way too confusing. And that's why I think, look, the Pirates might be a real candidate here. The Pirates missed out on Suarez. The Pirates missed out on Donovan. The Pirates have missed out on others. They need a third baseman. But who is it that we are going to get back? This Astros team, okay? The deal that brought Donovan to Seattle sent 2 former Mariners first-round picks, okay? And I am sorry, I'm not going to try to say both of their names. To St. Louis, because I haven't practiced them at all right now. One from Tampa and another from Seattle. Tampa acquired a utility man, and so you had this trade go down. What about the Cubs? Are the Cubs looking for a third baseman? If the Cubs are, who are they willing to trade? I know the Astros would like to get an outfielder, would like to get someone who can settle in that outfield and take some of the burden off of the logjam in the infield. Only time will tell. But this entire conundrum all happened when the Astros decided to bring back Carlos Correa. And I'm not saying I'm against the Carlos Correa signing, but it created an issue. And Uncle Ted, I'm sorry, Jordan is not going to get traded for Shaw, Ballesteros, and Alcantara. The reason why is not because Jordan is not worth 3 solid major league players. I don't know that he is, but because of his contract and because what he makes, he's probably not worth it. And I do not see the Houston Astros trading Jordan Alvarez. I just don't see it in the calculus going forward. But this has been a great show. Eric will be back with us tomorrow night as we'll get in even closer to pitchers and catchers reporting. I'm super excited about it. I know you guys are. Baseball season is officially here. So thank y'all so much for tuning in to today's podcast, Locked on Astros. And make sure you subscribe and follow Locked on Astros so you can get the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked on Astros ad-free plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonastros.supercast.com. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen, Locked On Fantasy Baseball, as you gear up for the MLB season. From myself, from Eric, and everybody here at Locked On Astros, thank y'all for tuning in. Guess what, folks? Baseball is back. Let's enjoy it, because 2026 could be our year. Are we going to chase the fight? We will.